Timothy Mudele, Temitokpe Mudele, and several others who took part as our panelists in this interview. So this mock interview, we said generally, just to run you through, we have about 54 interested participants who registered for the mock interview. And at the long run, we successfully did for about 12 per day. That's about 36 participants at the end of the process. So several things was noted during the course of the interview, which we are going to be discussing about today. Now, first and foremost, should I go, Mr. Wali, or you will take it? Mr. Wali.
Please go on. You have the floor. Please go on.
Okay, good. So first of all, one of the things I think we're able to note during the course of the interview was the way we, our CV, number one. Because most of us, we end up saying that when we see an interview advert or a job advert, most of us just send our CV. You will see some people, they will send my CV one, my renewed CV, my updated CV, my latest CV as the CV name. So looking at it, those kind of things is very, very wrong because who is my latest CV? Is that your name? So the right way to get your CV named is by using your name. For instance, Mukhtar Hakim resume, Mukhtar Hakim CV, not my safety CV, my HSE officer CV. All those kind of CVs doesn't really speak well. I've seen someone that even said my Lagos CV. So all those things doesn't really speak well. Starting from the CV, that one is even a red flag because some people immediately just said that, okay, fine, a CV with things that are not related to your name. Some employee, some interviewer or some recruiter will not even bother opening the CV at all, even though you are the best candidate for that job. They won't even bother opening it. I know several times I've corrected people, rename your CV, rename your CV, rename your CV, whenever they send CVs to me. So that one. And also, I think some of us, the format at which we design our CV is something that we need to also buttress on. And what do I mean by we need to buttress on is that we would see some people, which is one of the reasons why most people, and I repeat, most people are not getting job interview invites. The reason is because you see some people, when they design their CV, they'll be putting age, date of birth, 1990 something, gender, male, religion, Islam. They will even, some people will even go as far as attaching their picture, attaching their passport. Some people will go as far as putting their full detailed home address and some other things. And now today, as we speak, security issues out there. You don't know who end up laying his or her hand on your CV. For instance, if you want to put your CV, you want to put your address on your CV. If your name is not, your address is number 70 Kogberegbe Street, there's nothing but just writing Kogberegbe Street, Lagos, because you don't know who might end up eventually laying a hand on your CV. Aside that, you putting your gender, you should only put your gender when the job description or requirement is requesting for or only male. That's when it's expected of you to put your gender. But you putting gender, some people might be, we know some females that maybe when they want males, maybe when they want section, even some male likes female more than male. So since you're now putting gender, that is a way whereby they might even cut you off. Some people does not even have fine picture. So when you put pictures, some pictures can even be a red flag whereby you look at it, this guy is even ugly. And with that, to push you away, except probably you are doing marketing role, except probably you are doing role model role, and you think that picture will have effect in your selection. That's when it is expected of you to put your picture. Your age is not needed. I saw a role whereby they wrote HSE manager role. And I could remember someone was sending a CV to me, 1998, putting his date of birth, 1998. And I was trying to imagine someone of 1998 applying for HSE manager role. Don't you see that is a piece of, because 1998, how do you want to control those people on the field? Because someone with 1998 should be around, if I'm not mistaken, should be around maybe 25 26, 25 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So now looking at it, 1990, even, sorry, it should be around 24. So 1998, 24 years old, applying for HSE manager role of a multinational company. That alone can even make a recruiter not to even call the person back for the interview process. So there are some sensitive information that we need not to put in our CV, most especially if it is not being stated in the job description. If it is being stated that you must not be older than so and so age, then it's expected of us that, okay, fine, by then you can now start attaching age, because with that, it can easily make it for us to know that, okay, fine, no, this person is within the age bracket we are looking for. But if age bracket is not being stated in the interview job description or requirements, please remove it. Your religion is not needed. I might be an Islamic fanatic, whereby I don't want any Christian to work in my organization. I might be a Christian fanatic, whereby I don't want any Muslim to work in my organization. I know several times my beloved brother, Mr. Waliullah, has been a corporate, whereby some people immediately they see him, they say, it looks like Boko Haram guy. Sorry for using you for an example, Mr. Wali. So someone like that, if he puts his own facial picture in his CV, and I have a mindset that anybody who has BS is a Boko Haram member, do you think I will employ him, even though he's the best person for the role? So the thing is this, our CV, the first thing we need on our CV is our full name in full, Akim Ayodeji Mukhtar. After then, the following thing that it's expected of our CV is our email address and our phone number. After putting the email address and phone number, your house address, do not put the number of your house address. If your house is number 50, Kogberegbe Street, Lagos, Ibadan Expressway, just write Kogberegbe Street, Lagos, Ibadan Expressway for security reason, because you don't know who or who might end up laying their hand on your CV. When we're talking about ATS format, that is application tracking system. ATS, application tracking system. There are some keywords you will see in the job description they are looking for. For instance, if they said the person must have a sound skill in job hazard identification, the person must have effective communication skills, the person must be a team player, the person must be sound in risk assessment, the person must have competence in computer knowledge or use of Microsoft Excel. Looking at this, those are keywords that you need to look for in the job description, so that by the time you are building up your CV, when you are building up your CV, all those keywords are things you need to put in your CV. But most of us, we just use one generic CV for all jobs. And at the end of everything, if you keep doing it the same way, you keep getting the same response. The same response that is, they will not even bother inviting you for an interview. For every job advert you see, don't just jump and send CV. Even I've observed it on the platform, HSE platform. Immediately they post a job, even before the person even press send, you see people already sending CV. They don't even wait to read the requirements. They don't even wait to read the job description. Even though you want to give it a try, you will try to modify your CV back to what the job description has said, because there's always an ATS tracking system. That is the application tracking system, which adds some keyword, and that keyword is what the ATS will be looking for. So meaning that if you want to design your CV, first sit down and study the job description. All those keywords that are in that job description is what you will eventually put in your CV. So for you to get a job, it is expected of you not to keep using generic CV. When they said the person must be in Lagos and you are sending a CV with an address in Port Harcourt, is it still generic? Using a generic CV? That kind of person cannot be called, even though you are the best. So that one. Also, two, when we are talking about the educational thing, after you must have written that, the next thing is your education. The latest education is what you are to put at the top. That is from the ascending to the from the ascending order. Once that ascending order, that is from the lowest to the highest. So for the first one, let's assume my latest degree was Master's in environmental toxicology, UNILAG. That will be the first, followed by my BSc, followed by my secondary school education. And sometimes you might not even need to put secondary school education because it's expected that someone who has gone through university section or master's degree section will have passed through secondary school. You are also going to arrange your distance. So when you're now doing your work experience, under your work experience, do not just copy your JD. For instance, let's assume you are working with hybrid group of company. And while you're working with hybrid group of company as a project HSE officer, one of the main things you are to do is to ensure compliance on site among the contractor. Don't just try and I will ensure compliance on site. You can use a word like, I ensured compliance of the contractors on site, which has helped reduce so and so level of the record of an accident to so and so. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Try to put a figurative, how will I call it? A figurative attachment when you're talking about your achievements in your workplace. Don't just copy your JD and paste it there. So that one also. And finally, there is one I also want us to know. That is the referee. Most people will just call Mr. Akim, can I put your name as my referee? I will tell you, Oga, don't just put name as referee. Let your referee be on request. When they now request, then you release. The reason why it's always advisable to put your referee on request is because if you just put a number of anybody, you don't know when they might call those people. And by the time they call them, you don't know the mood at which the person is. For instance, now, someone putting my name as the referee, and probably my wife is in the labor room or delivery room, and I'm still running elter scatter on how I want to make sure my wife survives. And yet someone's now calling me, please, can you talk about Mr. Habanom? You will say the way we even react and shun the person might not even sound well. That at the end of everything, it might affect your opportunity of being employed. So due to that, always write on request. So by the time they request, call those people you want to drop their number first. Hello, sir. So company requested for your number. I want to drop your number as my referee. If the person gives you the go ahead, the person is already prepared so that by the time the company even call them, they will know that, okay, this person has already told me about the company. So that's that about the CV. Now, the next thing we need to do now, after you've successfully done your CV and you've been invited for an interview, what are the expected things you need to do when being invited for an interview? Number one, when going for an interview, try to read more about the job description that has been. Yeah, I'm with you, sir.
Hello.
I'm with you.
Let's take it one at a time. So you've spoken about the CV.
Okay, sir.
Which are very important. So if anyone have anything to any question to ask, because it's more like a round table section where we rub minds together, we might have people who also have one or two things to say and contribute to the section in order to make it for us to get the full view or better understanding. So if you have anything to say, if you have a contribution or a question to ask concerning issue of CV, please, you can kindly raise up your hand so that we will give the floor for you to ask your question or drop your contribution. Do you have anyone? Please kindly raise up your hand if you have anyone, so that by the time we are done with this section, we will not go back to the issue of naming of CV and anything that has to do with CV. Okay, Mr. Onyeka Okotu, please kindly unmute yourself, please. Please kindly unmute yourself.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation so far. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Everything Mr. Mukhtar said is clear, but it's still kind of confusing because I don't know. But should I ask if is that a generally acceptable standard or is based on individual organization or firm that want to recruit? Because a few months ago, I attended one, and most of the things he has rightly mentioned were not on my CV, but to my surprise, in the interview panel, I was being asked, there's no date of birth, There's no, and this is a standard oil servicing company. So I was shocked, but I could not say anything much. So I don't know. Is there a generally acceptable standard irrespective of the recruiter or the company? That's what I want to get clarified based on my personal experience.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Oyeka, for that question. I said, and I will repeat, and you can always quote me. I said that when we are designing our CV and we're asking for age, religion, and others, some job description always request for it. So if the job description does not request for job requirement does not request for it, you don't need to put it on your CV. But if they request for it, probably the job should be, the person shouldn't be more than 37 years old, as at the time of application, you get, then you can put your date of birth. The reason is because you might even be the youngest among those that applied, but by the time you put your age, just like the description I gave, a guy of 24 years old applying for HSE manager. So it's how will I put it? It's already a red flag for that kind of guy because of his age, he kept there. But he might even be more qualified in terms of certification, in terms of experience. Because now, based on what I know, it's not about the years of experience you've been on the job, but the years of standard information you've acquired on the job. That is what you need. We've seen people that they work under a right firm for 1 year, and with that 1 year experience they gathered is like 10 years experience for another person. Even someone with 15 years experience cannot do what they can do. So with the look of things, it boils down to the requirements of the recruiter. So you just put in age, put in this. If it is not asked in your job requirements, please remove it. Have I answered that, Mr. Onyeka?
Thank you. What I was saying is those things, age and all that, were not in the CV. They were not in the CV. That was so. In the final, when they brought out the CV, they started asking that why were those things not there? That they're supposed to be there. This is not a standard CV. So I was kind of surprised. So that's why I asked the question: is they generally acceptable?
Okay, Mr. Oyeka, give us an example of what was not in the CV that we requested. Age. Now,
date of birth and all that.
Now, Akim said that if in the job description that they gave earlier, when they send the advert, if there is a place that requires you to mention your age, then it should be included in the CV. Maybe during the time of when they were sending their vacancy post, they included it there that the person must be of particular age or must also experience or must be between the age of this and this. So definitely that has to reflect on your CV. Mr. Daniel Vogt, you have something to say, sir?
Yeah, all right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Wale and Mr. Hakim. Okay, from my own experience, yeah, I tend to agree with what Hakim said about the company requesting for what is meant to be on the CV. For the standard practice, that is it. If a company is interested in you, if they single out your CV, they can request for you to include all these details, or to update your CV with all these details, or to update them with the specific details that they would want. So I don't think it's a red flag for you not to include all those things. For a good company that sees your CV and say, we want this person, what they would do, from my own point, for some interviews I've gone for, they will request for additional information before shortlisting you for an interview. So I think it works best to take it off, because the advantages supersede the advantages of including your age on your CV. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, Mr. Hakim, please kindly go on to the next section, please.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Daniel. So just to buttress Mr. Daniel's point before I move to the next point, I remember there was a job advert like that they said someone must be a single fellow. So in that kind of CV, you have to write your marital status, single. So if you don't put it, probably they might ask for further information if they are single or not, because there are some position is expected for married person, and there are some position is for single person. So that's about that. So the next thing now is what, after you've been called and you've been invited for an interview, so what is the next thing you have to do? So immediately you've been called and you've been invited for an interview, the next thing expected of you is to go back to that JD. Because you'll be seeing most people asking, what are the questions I should prepare for? What are the this I should prepare for? No matter the question they want to ask you, mostly for a standard company, they always play around the JD of the job requirements that they've shared. The JD of the job requirement they've shared. So you have to study it, go to the website of the company, get some information about the company, the history, go to their portal, check their HSE policy, if they have their HSE policy on their profile, their vision, their mission statements. You can also get all those information. Then brush up your basic knowledge. For any standard HSE interview now that is already for mid-age, mid-year and above, they ask more of scenario-based question. I'm still coming there. So don't let me dwell into that yet. So in a nutshell, when preparing for an interview, it's expected of you, number one, when preparing for an interview, go through the JD of the job description of the job that you've applied for, that they've called you for. Go through their website, see as much information as possible you can gather. Then brush up your basic HSE knowledge. So when you brush up your basic HSE knowledge, with that, I can assure you that when you go for the interview, you will still be able to be an high flyer. So now looking at it, when you now go for the job interview, you need to dress smart, even though whether it is virtual or physical. We've seen cases of people whereby they are using singlets to attend interview. Some are inside the bus attending interview. Some are even on their bike attending interview. There was even one that I think Mr. Julius and Madam Ambassador Comfort even had to stop the guy. That the guy went into a control panel room, electrical control panel room, and was doing interview inside that place, which was risky. So for every place you want to do an interview, whether it is virtual or physical, you need to comport yourself. You need to sit upright, like sitting upright, not like you will sit like as if you are talking to daddy at home. Sit upright, sit like someone who has confidence and not someone who is shivering. Because I mean, all those moods, your dressing and everything also counts in the course of an interview. So that's about it. We even had someone that wore a native to an interview and even wear this cap, Ogefila. So to an interview, interview, all those things are linked to the next one. Or does anybody has an addition or subtraction?
In addition to what you said, I hope you can hear me well. In addition to what you said, talking about the kind of questions, related questions that you ask. In addition, please kindly mute. You are going to take the person out because we don't want anyone to distract this session. If you are taking the person out. Sorry, please. Kindly exercise patience, please. All right. So you talk about the JD, the job description, which is already on your CV, and what you wrote that you do on your CV. Also, in addition to the kind of question that they will ask you, is the work experience that you said you have. If you wrote in your CV that you have worked with a company and you carry out this job and you have so work that you've done in the particular company, you might even be fortunate or unfortunate to have someone that has worked in that same company that you said you've worked with. So anything that is on your CV that indicates what you have done or where you have worked or with whom you have worked with, you need to go back to the table and go back to your knowledge on where you had this experience and what you did, because all the questions that they'll be asking you will be a reflection of what you wrote on your CV. And also have it in mind that most times they ask questions based on your response. They ask questions, if you answer a particular question, from your answer, they'll ask another question. So sometimes when you're asking questions, don't answer in a way that will give them opportunity to ask another wide range of questions that will give you a tough time. So there is a way you code yourself when you answer questions that you answer the specific answer that they need, and might not really need to them asking another question from the answer that you gave them. And at the end of the day, it will now become more stress. So those are the techniques that they use in asking questions. And about dressing, the most important thing is for you to dress smart. It's important for you to dress smart. If you go to the north, or if you've done interview, maybe an interview that has to do with maybe federal government job that has to do with people from different part of the country, and northerners are there. You see northerners, they will dress in their is it dashiki or what? They will dress completely in native, but they will look smart. But they will look very smart. So whatever, even if you are wearing suit or you are wearing tie, especially if you are going for a manager role that requires you to be a figure of the company. Maybe you have to represent the company in the in audit, or you have to go outside. Your dressing at the interview session will speak a lot on how you will present yourself physically to client and the like. So your dressing is very important. Even if you are putting on suit, you are putting on tie, it doesn't mean that you are smart. So dressing smart is very important. Your color combination. Some people, if they put on suit and tie and jacket and belt and socks, and it will look like they are going for war because of the color riot. The colors will be fighting themselves. So good color combination, basic color combination, dressing smart, ironing our clothes, and ensuring that our shoe is not. Some people, their shoe are shoved off at the base. All these little things count. I remember when I went for a particular interview, then I think it was a management interview like that, but it was a long time ago. Even with, I think I just started the safety job then. I went for an interview, and the socks that I put on, the socks was already whole. Not all these socks that the wool, you'll be seeing the wool coming out from the socks, and the socks was not firm to my feet. The socks was already sagging. Yeah, let me put it that way. The socks was already sagging, so I had to sit down. When I sat down, my trouser came up and it showed all the socks. Even me, I felt embarrassed. So complete smartness is very important when we go to present ourselves for physical interviews. And that is what my own contribution on that. So Mr. Hakim, please go to how to end a discussion.
Yeah, before we move, I think I saw one person lifting up his hand.
Okay, he dropped his hand earlier. So Mr. Aderojo, Twale. Twale, yeah, let's go.
This is Twale on the line. Twale Aderojo. Good evening, sirs.
Yes, sir, you're coming.
Are you with me, sir?
Yeah, yes, we are here with you, sir.
Okay, I want to thank the host and Mr. Wali for organizing such a program for us that are in the system still growing. I really appreciate your time and your effort. My question goes to us during pertaining to interview. I want to ask a question. For example, I'm slated for interview, and while I'm slated for interview, I'm on site working, and I don't have time to go home or look for someone to go, and I'm with my coverall. Is it right to take that interview with my coverall, well dressed, in the office, in the quiet place?
Yeah, Mr.
That's my question, sir.
Mr. Twale, yes. As it is,
yes.
Even yes. To be candid with you, for you to be on the cover of your company, are you getting me? And since it is a virtual interview, it even gives you more chances of bargaining power, because to prove to the interviewer that you are not jobless, that you are currently engaged with an employer. So looking at it, so far you are neatly dressed. I've done several interviews whereby I was on the reflective jacket of my company, and I just sat down in my office and I had my interview. So far you comport yourself, and the key, according to what Waliula said earlier, is that we should make sure we are smart. So no matter how you are dressed, ensure that what you are on is smart. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So far it is smart and you are on your reflective jacket, you can still use it for an interview process. Except if you know that that interview won't be convenient for you, and you can always request for a rescheduling of an interview. But using your office wear, like your coverall and things like that, it's permissible, except probably if you think there will be conflict of interest. What do I mean by conflict of interest? For instance, now you want to do interview with maybe Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola invited you for an interview, and you're wearing Pepsi jersey, you're wearing it into Coca-Cola to go and do interview. Or you want to do interview with Etisalat, you are wearing MTN jersey, you are wearing it down to Etisalat, whereby there's conflict of interest. So things like that might not be allowed, except that. But if there won't be conflict of interest, are you getting me? If possible, if it is not a branded coverall, I think it can still go on and fly. Thank you. So if you have any contribution, Mr. Wali, to that before we move on.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is fine. That is fine. Let's go on because of time.
So the next one on the agenda is the introduction. So during the period when we were talking, I could see our chairman, Mr. Temitope Mundele, who also joined the call. You're welcome, sir. So he was one of our panelists too. So probably he would also contribute at the long run too, because they are one of those that give us the feedback that we are currently giving out now too. So when we talk about introduction, we've seen cases whereby when they say, can we meet you? Or maybe probably, okay, welcome. We have Mr. So and so and so and so on the line. So can we meet you? So can we meet you there is just telling you that you should mention your name and put them through your CV, your work experience, what you've been through. I've seen people whereby during the mock interview, when they say, can we meet you? Yeah, my name is Mukhtar Hakim. I am 15 years old. I am from family of 4. My daddy is married to 2 wives. My daddy is this. I saw people doing that during the course of the interview. We don't need all those information. We even have someone that was even saying during the course of an interview process, when they said, can we meet you? I am currently jobless. I work with one company as an intern. They did not pay me. So as a free distance, they don't need all those kind of information. They did not pay you. Immediately even mentioned they did not pay you. You're already undermining yourself. Your chances of bargaining high, because they'll be looking at someone who they did not pay and work for so and so years. If you give him 50,000 naira, he will appreciate now. How get what I'm trying to say? Because the key of it is this. Mr. Wali mentioned something earlier. He said, when you're answering a question, your responses is what will determine the question they will ask you. If you want to own up your interview to yourself, and be the one to determine the question your interviewer needs to ask you. It is during the period when they tell you to introduce yourself. That is the period you can streamline them to where you expect them to ask you. Because in that period, there are 3 key things when you are introducing yourself. Number one of the key things is mentioning your name and your experience. Number 2, selling yourself. That is for them to start saying, okay, I think this guy is a very good fit for what we are looking for. How to sell yourself really matters most when you are talking about your introduction, because the most important part about your introduction is that you want to sell yourself. Just like, why should I buy this Pepsi? Then trying to tell them, this is the reason why I should buy Pepsi. So selling yourself. Aside that, the third one is you are also trying to streamline them to the questions you want them to ask you. Because based on all the experience you've mentioned, you would end up eventually saying that they would drill you more in that kind of question. I remember there was an interview I went for. When I mentioned I put them through my past history. Unknown to me, the 2 interviewer has even worked in my previous place of work. One had worked with Hybrid, one had worked with Coca-Cola. And by the time they start asking a question, they dwell their question more with Hybrid and they dwell their question more with Coca-Cola. So meaning, while I was doing my introduction, I was able to streamline them to where I wanted them to direct me to. So now, if you want to introduce yourself, you shouldn't just say, my name is Mukhtar Hakim, I'm a graduate of so-so-so, I am a graduate of so-so-so. No. Try to put them through. A very good example now. My name is Mukhtar Hakim. Good afternoon, good morning, sirs. Good morning, mass. Thank you once again for giving me the privilege to be interviewed. I really appreciate for giving me the privilege to be interviewed. My name is Mukhtar Hakim Ayodeji. I'm a graduate of chemistry from Lagos State University, and I am currently practicing as an health safety and environment with so and so years of experience. Over the years, I've been able to work in the manufacturing sector with so and so company. I've been able to work in the construction sector with so and so company. I've been able to work in power distribution sector with so and so. And currently, I'm working in the mining industry, which part of my job role includes and which has been able to help the company in reducing the rate of accidents record. There was something again I wanted to say. There was a girl that could not even differentiate the difference between near miss accidents and incidents. We are still going there. Accident record from so and has been able to save the company so amount. I've seen questions about some people who ask you, what is your greatest achievement? You will say, my greatest achievement is that I've acquired Bosch IGC. No, that's not what they're asking you. Your greatest achievement, that is, what is your greatest impact since you became an HSE officer? What are the remarkable innovations, value that you've added since you became an HSE officer? Those are the kind of things they were trying to ask you when we're talking about this. So when we're talking about selling yourself, learn how to sell yourself, learn how to market yourself, in the sense that the interviewer will be wowed based on the way you begin with your what? Introduction. And there is something, again, when you're ending your conversation, which most of us were faulty of during the period of the mock interview, when you are done with your answering the question, you will say, I know of some people that will say, that's it, Sha. That's it, yeah. That is all. I am done. No. That is a very wrong manner and rude way of ending a discussion. Instead, say, thank you, sir. When you are done, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma. When you are done. So that will give them the idea that you are done. Some people will not even say thank you. Some people will not say this. When they are just done, they'll just keep mute. The person will be asking, are you done? You don't need all those things. You need to know how to also end your discussion. So, Mr. Wali, do you want to add to it, or I should still move on?
Yeah, sorry. I'm super excited now. Sorry. Something just happened now. I've been trying to look at the score line. I know it has been 2-0. Now you have 2-2 on the line. So that for those that are watching, you also know that something is happening behind this section. So now, in addition to what my colleague said, when it says sell yourself or tell us about yourself, it also includes mentioning your key projects. Maybe when you're working in a particular workplace, there was something that you specifically did yourself, that is specifically introduced. Someone like me, for example, when I used to go for interviews, one of those selling points that I used to mention is starting HSE management system for a company from the scratch and developing it to a stage when it became a common language. Another selling point that I personally use is introducing data analysis using Excel dashboard that is not common among sales professionals in an average organization. So now it now has to do with looking at yourself. What are those key things that are done before? It might not even only be you. You might be part of the team that did a particular project, that completed a particular milestone. So,
illogically glorious game. Sometimes it is just plain ridiculous.
I've done that. Sorry for that. So mentioning a key project, mentioning a key activity, a key milestone that you achieve, or something peculiar to you that you do that will indicate that, yes, this person has something to offer, something unique to you. So that is when it's not about, like my colleague mentioned, talking about you are married with two kids, this and that. No, we are talking about professionalism. What are those areas? What are those key areas that you need to talk about? Those key achievements of yours. So you need to look inward into yourself, look at your years of experience, look at those key achievements that you've had. Like I said earlier, it's not necessarily only you. It can be you and your colleague. The milestones. Okay, we contrasted, and using figures is also very important. Figures. I was part of the team that supervised a $8 billion project, a $8 billion NBC project, or I was part of the team that a project that involved 2,500 and number of workers, so million man hour, and we ensured that everybody is in compliance. We had this, we had that. I was part of the team that investigated this and this. No, the key that has to do with professionalism. Those are the things they want to know and hear when it comes to what's introducing yourself to the interview, to the panelists. I think that is what I can say concerning that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I can see Mr. Christopher Inyang lifting up his hand. Please, can you unmute yourself and let's contribute, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Akim. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can.
Okay, there's something I want to get straight, because I must tell you, I'm really learning a lot from this discourse. And in fact, as you're making your presentation, I'm basically just going through my CV, and I also saw that, yes, I complied in some of the aspects you have mentioned, and I also defaulted in some of the aspects. And what I want to find out is that in the course of drafting your CV and putting maybe your achievement or duties with respect to what you do in your present work place, are you saying that we should more or less like personalize it? For instance, if you want to put like you say, okay, you are currently an HSE manager for company A, and in stating what you do in that company A, you say, for instance, I developed the HSE management system to meet with, say, ISO standard. Is that how you want it to, you say it should be? I ensured that this and this is done.
Yeah, there are some things that hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Mr. Christopher.
I can hear you, Akim.
There are some things we need to know when we are designing our CV. Number one, which I need to mention and I will emphasize on, number one, is that most people, the mistake they do is they will just copy their JD. You know, most people, when they get employed, they give them JD, and the JD is assisting to ensure compliance of safety among workers. Then people will just carry it and post it there, assisting to ensure compliance among workers. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So there are some key personal pronouns that you are not meant to use in your CV. Number one, I, we, us. I get me. You don't need it in your CV. So that one that you're saying, I ensured, you will just write ensured. Do you get? I developed. You just write developed. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Do not personalize, because immediately you personalize, there's something you are missing out. That is, you are not a team player. You are a sole player. And for a standard company, it is not possible for us to have managing the safety of the company. So you personalizing means that you've already disconnect yourself or dissociate yourself from teamwork. So if you had written teamwork in your soft skills, that is, you just prove to us that you are not a team player. So those words, I, you should always try as much as possible to remove it. So instead, ensured, developed, prevented, protected. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Assisted. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So those kind of words are what you use, then use it in, okay, for instance, let me give an example. Now, in my JD, they said you should always assist the supervisor to partake in an accident investigation. That is what the JD said, right?
Yes.
But if I want to write it, I can write it as assist in ensuring due condition and monitoring and closeout, which has helped prevent reoccurrence of accidents. The use is different from that JD.
Very well, yes.
Right.
So there's difference between subjective and objective achievements. Do you get?
Yes,
so
thank you so
now
much.
They said enforcing and ensuring positive safety culture. That's what is in my JD. Ensuring enforcement of safety compliance and improving the positive safety culture. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Now, if I'm to write it in my CV now, I'll write ensured that I enforce positive, ensured that I enforced safety compliance among staff with several innovative safety programs, which has helped increase the safety culture from non-compliance to compliance and still growing to committed. Full stop. Do you see the difference?
Very well,
Yeah.
very
Do
well.
you see the
Akim.
difference, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I can stand another person. You're welcome, sir. I can stand another person raising up and Mr. Yaya Mohammed.
I want to add to that. I want to add to that. So
Okay,
that it's
sir.
very clear. Mr. that has a question now. If what you observe from what Akim said now is that the difference is this, so that it's very clear for everyone on the call. The way you now describe that area will now be result oriented. Your JD said you should engage or support in carrying out investigation. Now to write it out in your interview, you don't just write I engage in support. I supported in carrying out investigation. It has to be result oriented, like the way you describe it. What was the outcome? For example, I'm trying to scroll through my CV now. When I was working with indirectly with KHS, there's this area that I want to look out for. Part of my job description was to supervise installation of CAN line. Now look at what I wrote. I wrote supervise the installation and commissioning of new CAN line without recording any health, any injury, improve safety culture, incident record, and reduce site incident by 80%. So maybe before in a month, they used to have maybe 20 on save act or on save condition. But after we supported in supervision and installation of the new CAN line, it reduced maybe to like 20 or to like 10. So you now look at or to like 5 or to like 3. You now look at the percentage. So it has to be result oriented for them to know that yes, you are not only good in supervision, but you're also good in utilizing your data to see how you are actually improving on the system. So that is how to write out what you did and what you achieved in the course of working in a particular XYZ company. I hope that is clear now, sir.
Very clear, Walu and Akim. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. So, Mr. Akim, let's move on to the next one.
I can see some people lifting up their hand. Should we take their question or opinion, or should we just move on?
Please let us have them. I thought they already dropped their hands already. I can't see any hands up now.
I can have Mr. Yaya Mohammed.
Okay. I can see now. So,
Happy
Mr. Yaya Mohammed,
to
please ask your question.
Hello.
Yaya Mohammed.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I just attended the Zoom meeting just right now. I don't know, maybe my question might have been answered. Mine is with regard to ATS, this applicant tracking system. Hello?
Yeah,
we can hear you,
sir. I heard that most CV now are not mostly checked by like hiring manager. Most of them use applicant tracking system. Please, I don't know how, for example, how can I tidy my CV in such a way like my CV will look very attractive to the system.
Okay, so thank you so much for that question. Although I've answered the question earlier when I was starting my introduction about CV and when I was talking about the contents in the CV. So for your CV to have ATS format, that is the application tracking system. You need to first study the job description and job requirements of the job you're applying for. So for instance, now, when they wrote in the job requirements that we need someone who has knowledge in Microsoft PowerPoint, we need someone who has knowledge in Microsoft Excel, we need someone who has experience in risk assessment, job hazard analysis. Those are the keywords they need. So those keywords are things you are going to write in your soft skills. So that ATS is just like a software whereby those keywords is being programmed in it. So it is that keyword it will be looking for. So any CV that has that keyword is what it will pick. So meaning for you to make it ATS compliance, it's not until your CV is beautiful, handsome, or having this thing. Even it is wrong for your CV to have this, what do I call it, page frame. This page frame that we usually put in a cover page for our project in school then, when we're doing projects in school. It's wrong for you. Yeah, that borderline, you don't need it. You don't need it in your CV because that borderline sometimes can prevent the ATS system from picking the keyword in your destiny because it is in an enclosed border. So that's why some people's CV might not end up being selected. So the keyword needed in that job requirement is what you are to put. Like someone, they said, job requirement, the person must have experience as an ISO 45001 lead auditor. Now, if it doesn't have ISO 45001 lead auditor in the CV, the ATS will not pick it. So what you need to do that's why there's difference between generic CV and specific CV. Generic CV is just the CV that you've prepared. Probably you can always modify anytime, any day. But specific CV is when you've seen the job description, you've seen the job requirements, then with that, you can now speak out the keyword and use it to redevelop your CV. So before you apply for any job, always ensure you study the job description for it to be able to pick what you want to pick, because it's just for people who has knowledge in Python programming. It's just like logic. If you don't see this, reject the CV. So I think I've answered that, Mr. Yaya Mohammed.
But sorry, sir. Please, sir, is there like a software that can handle that for me, or I have to do it manually?
Yeah, Akim. Yeah, Mr. Yaya, there are a lot of
you have to do it manually.
Akim, please. There are a lot of online, what's it called? Online websites that whenever you have your CV, what you do is that you look out for your CV, develop your CV, then you put it on this website. Maybe I would ask one of my colleagues, he gave me one then. Then when you put on the website will tell you what are those, you will be able to analyze it, then tell you the areas you need to improve on. So from there, you build it gradually, build it gradually, till you have a good CV. I can tell you for free that building CV is what the truth is, it is we that can build our CV ourselves. Because in the process of building your CV, you also learn a lot. There was time that I engaged all these people that would say they were to build CV for that, you should help them to build CV or they will pay them. I've done that before, and when I took the CV to ATS, one of these online listings, it gave me a low mark until I went myself to build my CV myself before I start getting something like 18/20 based on the score that it will give me. So what I'm telling you now that it will take time, but go online. I've forgotten that it's a very simple website like this. It will analyze it for you. It will tell you those areas you need to work on, those things you need to remove, and what you need to do with your CV. Then you improve it gradually. Like so some people don't even know that putting their LinkedIn link will add to their CV, and there's a way that you can customize your LinkedIn link. That if they click on that link, you direct them to your LinkedIn page immediately. But there's a way that you can customize that link. Like my own now, just LinkedIn/Waliola will take you directly to my LinkedIn profile. So all these things we add value to your CV as a whole. But go to that website, you can go online and check. It will help you to analyze your CV and tell you what to do and what to put on your CV. And with time, it will improve.
I'm very grateful, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Akim, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for that. And the reason why I also need to emphasize something again, based on what Mr. Waliu just said, we can use this link bit.ly, just BITLY for shortening and renaming of link. Like that, Waliu.LinkedIn. You can use bit.ly to reshort. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. But even on LinkedIn itself, there's a way that you can customize it, that it will bring LinkedIn / instead of writing code, instead of writing 01ABC, it writes / the name that you bought. I've forgotten how I did it then. / the name. You can do it. You can do it on the phone. You can do it on desktop. You go to your profile. Yes, you go to your profile and there's a way that you edit it and you write the name that you want to appear on it. Then you now put it on your CV.
All right.
Okay, just to save time, maybe the person in question should try getting across to us outside this call, because we still have a lot of things to touch. And aside that, there is something I also wanted to add. We are still using people to help us write our CV. The repercussion of it mostly is that we don't end up being able to defend our CV. Because at the end of everything, they will write some things that we cannot defend, that they will say we did and we did not do, and we don't even have experience that we did before. So that's about that. So I can see some other people lifting up their hand. Wow, I'm seeing my boss lifting up his hand. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Mr. Sylvester. So Mr. Sylvester, please, can you unmute yourself, sir? So after Mr. Sylvester, then Api, Udo, Inse should do it. Mr. Sylvester, sir, please, can you unmute yourself, sir?
Yes, sir. God bless you. I'm looking at, I want to find out. Yeah, I can hear you very well. I'm unmuted. Hello?
I can hear you.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, what I want to find out is, yeah, I have a challenge arranging my qualifications. Somebody asked me to send my CV down to the company, what I have. And I had my BSc in electrical electronics engineering before HSE. Then after I went for my master's. So when I put BS HSE, hello sir, can you hear me? See, before going to get HND in the same electrical engineering. So I have problem arranging it in my CV, BSc, then HND, then I have a master's now in electrical engineering. So somebody was now telling me I removed the HND. So, but I feel that it's one of my achievements. It's something that should be in my CV. So it has been giving me problem. I don't know if I can get a better understanding or clearance from this session. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir.
So based on
hello, Mr. Waliu.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir? No, can you hear me, sir?
BSc before HND, then masters. Somebody said I should remove the HND since I
hello,
got the
can
BSc.
you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you very loud and clear.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
No, I can hear you. Akim, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So the qualification, the way I arranged them was the way I got them year after year. So I put there that I actually had the
okay,
BSc
sir. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. So it's only I don't know whether you are hearing me over there.
Akim, we can hear you. I think Akim has missed. Akim is. I think Akim network is having issues. Akim,
okay,
Akim, can you hear me?
Yeah. So I was not looking at the challenge
so,
of.
As I was saying, as I was saying, sir, you can unmute yourself, sir. So, you can mute yourself, sir. So as I was saying, what happened is this: it depends on the relevance of the job you are applying for. So, for instance, since you said you had BSc and the HND is in electrical electronics or something, and if the job require you and you think that HND is a selling point for you, so that they can know that you have knowledge in electrical and electronics, then there's no need to removing it. You just arrange it based on the years of achievement. Since your master's is the most recent, your master's should come first, followed by the HND, that is the most recent, then the BSc. So, but if you see that probably the job you're applying for might not really need the electrical experience, then you might remove the HND, then use the BSc and the MSc. Although I know why some people are doing, what are they calling it? Discrepancy about HND and BSc, which I know my beloved brother also suffered from it, Mr. Waliula, when they were doing discrepancy about HND and BSc. But nevertheless, so far it is part of your achievement, and it is a knowledge that is expected to tell you for that role. You can always put it there, while your BSc can also be there. So the HND can always come after the BSc, since you got the certification after your BSc. So no need of removing it if it truly has
Okay.
a major
Thank you
role
very much.
going to
I
play
agree.
in making you get
I'm
that
okay.
job.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. So,
Okay.
Mr. or Miss Happy Udo Estem, you are welcome, sir. Mr. or Miss Happy Udo Estem, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this very wonderful opportunity. I just want to share a scenario what just occurred not quite long, I think last week. On the job profile, there was no location specified on the job advert. Then on the profile as well, I took my time, I checked it very well. Then they contacted me, I think that was on Monday last week, that I have been shortlisted for interviews in Warri. But I told them even my CV carry my address Lagos. So I didn't just decline. I asked, is it going to be Zoom or physical? They told me physical. I said, I'm not in Warri. That if they should even check my resume, they will also understand that I'm based in Lagos. But they should give me some time that I'm going to get back to them before the close of business, which I did. But my job did not permit me to be physically in Warri. So I called them and I also updated them on that conclusion. So 2 days later, they contacted me back and said that, am I still very sure that I will not make it? So at that point, I was just trying to buttress more and telling them that at least we are at least electronics has really been of help, that I will only be available on Zoom or Google Meet. So I just want to get a clarification. It doesn't mean that maybe I'm being rude to them or maybe trying to play hard to get, because I was so specific. I told you that my job does not permit me to be physically in Warri. Then that is number one. Then the number two, I also had an experience in past interview, which when I checked the profile, the job profile, there was nothing specified in terms of ISO 14001. So, but during the interview section, a whole lot of questions was asked based on ISO 4500, 14001.
Please, let's make the question fast because of time. Please, let's summarize the because of time, please.
At a point, and I told the interviewer that I'm yet to have a certification in ISO 14001. So I just want to get more clarification on that, on the first and the second question I just asked. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to be very brief, first and foremost, the first one you said, I think you were a little bit rude. Sorry to use that word, because you're trying to lecture your recruiter, the electronics and blah, blah, blah. Every company has their different way of carrying out their interview based on how it is convenient for them. So instead, if you know it wasn't comfortable for you, there is Yoruba do say there is a way you present to them that even at the end of everything, they will end up buying into you, like trying to make them understand with a mail. Thank you so much for seeing me worthy to be interviewed in your prestigious company. Although due to some reasons that I believe that is above my control, I won't be able to make it for the physical interview. Please, can you kindly make it a virtual interview? And if I pass through this stage, probably in the nearest future, I will be coming down physically to attend the interview so that you can know the person or the physical. Best regards, I await to your kind response, full stop. Not you lecturing them. Do you say with that, if they want to, they will say yes. And if they want to, they will say no. And if they say no, you can send a follow-up mail that, okay, thank you so much for your response. So, and probably I would be looking forward to apply if I see another open vacancy in the nearest future that excites me. Full stop. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Not you trying to cancel them and things like that. For the second one that you said, ISO 14001, one of the things is, even sometimes they might not put it in the job requirements that they need someone with ISO 14001. But based on the job description, it will give you a green light or a green flag that, okay, I think they might ask this question. Whereby when they're asking you on the ISO 14001, telling you maybe the person will be in charge of environment. I get what I'm trying to say, and have detailed knowledge about environment. So with that, it will start giving you the red flag or green flag. Okay, fine. I think these people might ask me things about laws relating to environment. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So with the look of things, it all boils down to the job description. Some might not state it categorically, but based on the job description, it will give you the green flag where the question might come from. So thank you so much. I think I've been able to answer that. So please, let's move to the next this thing. The Mr. Daniel Vote will be answering your question or your contribution.
Hello,
when I can hear you, Mr. Wale.
Yes, about this thing that I said the other time about the link or a thing. About the link, the LinkedIn link. I think I've been able to get it. I don't know if you are with your phone, you can quickly go through it. If you are with your phone, yeah, can you hear me? I hope you can all hear me. If you have your LinkedIn,
we can hear you.
So you will click on this arrow, the pen, the small pen at the right side here. I don't know how to indicate it. The small pen at the right side, not on my caudal safety, the one at the edge, not on caudal safety, the other pen that is not selling.
Mr. Wale.
You click on it. So when you click on it, you will go down, you will see edit contact info. Then from edit contact info, you will see your URL on top. You click on the URL, it will take you to another place entirely. Then you will see where they wrote your URL and the pen. Then you click on it. You click on the pen and you'll be able to edit it. Initially, it will be just code. So you just edit it with whatever name you want to edit it with, and you click on OK, and that will save it automatically. So that is how to go about customizing your LinkedIn name and putting it on your CV. So Mr. Hakim, let's go to the next place. Mr. Hakim, are you there? Mr. Hakim, are you there with me?
Yeah, hello, this is Daniel. Please, I have a small contribution to make, which could also be a question.
Yeah, I can hear you now, Mr. Wale. I'm back.
Okay, Mr. Boat, please, it can make you snappy because of time. We are behind time. I just spoke for just 1 minute now. It can make you also
Okay, no problem. So let me just contribute my 2 cents to the first question. Yeah, for entry-level positions, I don't think it is ethical for you to want to detect or suggest the mode of interview. But for an experienced hire, it is within your right to actually suggest to them, like Hakim has said, the mode of interview that is convenient for you. A standard company should be able to respect the mode of interview of an experienced hire. Of course, he will give reasons why he's choosing the mode of interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So, Mr. Hakim, let's move on to the next one because of time. I think we've literally touched so many areas already, but let us continue with you, sir. Hakim. Mr. Hakim, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Please go on.
Okay, thank you so much. So, so in addition to that, after you must have been able to get over all those things I've mentioned earlier, the next thing we need to know about is the confidence level. There's difference between overconfidence, confidence, and non-confidence. A lot of people end up falling a victim of overconfidence. Some confidence. No matter how experienced you are, always try as much as possible to be in the category of confidence. Because the moment you are feeling overconfidence is already a red flag to the recruiter. For instance, now you are in a job interview and probably you are having overconfidence in your answer. There is something I want us to know. There is a, how will I put it in English? There is a, nobody is an epitome of knowledge. And when a recruiter is asking a question, they are expecting a response that made them ask that question. So you're now feeling overconfidence, like I see the recruiter is wrong. I see some people that will even be telling the recruiter on the call that, sir, I think you don't know anything. Sir, go and read up your book. Sir, go and freshen up your book. Overconfidence, that alone is a red flag. So when we're talking about overconfidence, you should try as much as possible to avoid it. I remember there was an interview whereby I was asked that what is suspension trauma? I wasn't sure of the question as at the time the person asked me what is suspension trauma. But to me, all what just came to my mind then, if I could remember, was suspension. That is, maybe probably they suspended someone. Trauma, like the person had trauma that they suspended him at work. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But when they asked me that question, I gave that maybe probably someone been traumatized. No, I wasn't sure in it. So I just stylishly withdraw and said, since I'm wrong, sir, please can you kindly enlighten me? So with the look of things, hello, with the look of things, I just see that overconfidence level can also cause a lot of things. Whereby at the long run, I had to go read up on what suspension trauma is. There is a key word I want us to hold and I want us to learn in this course of this, should I call it dialogue? Not all interviews that you have to shine. There are some interviews that will be a learning phase for you that you even still have to go back and go and read. And there are some interviews that you would shine because the questions being asked are questions you could answer. And yet there are sometimes you would think the questions you are given is right. And funny enough, the HR will keep saying, good, 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 continue, good, good, good. And meanwhile, they're just laughing at your what? How will I use the word? They were laughing at you being confident on what you don't know. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So with the look of things, overconfidence skills in an interview. Overconfidence skills in a what? In an interview. Non-confidence, that is, you know the answer, but you're still shivering, you're still doubting. You are using the wrong terms, whereby where you're supposed to use risk, you are using hazard. Where you're supposed to use incidents, you are using near miss. Where you're supposed to use, you understand what I'm trying to say, like trying to mix things up, missing things up, you're missing things up. So with the look of things, non-confidence can also make you feel like as if you are not worthy to be employed, even though you know the right answer. So overconfidence and non-confidence, you need to work on it. Try as much as possible to get your confidence when answering questions. But you're not having overconfidence like as if you know it all. It's also cues in the course. Next thing I take time is how to ask the interviewer for clarification of questions. Most times, especially when we are doing virtual interview, most of us, in one way or the other, due to network breach or so, some of us, okay, Mr. Wali has something to say. So, Mr. Wali.
No, when you are done with what you want to say, when you are done, I want to add to that so that we'll go to the next one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So when we are talking about, see that due to be in a network breach, for those that are doing virtual interview or physical breach, physical interview, but you could not get what they were asking you, there is always room for you to ask for clarity. Don't just jump on questions you are not clear about. For instance, maybe they are giving you a scenario-based question and you are not sure of what they are trying to ask, or they are asking you questions that you are not clear about. Don't just jump and start saying another thing entirely. During the course of the interview, I could see a place whereby they were asking someone, what are the steps of carrying out risk assessments? What are the steps of carrying out risk assessment? We all know that there are 5 steps in carrying out risk assessment. But the next thing the person started saying is, if you want to do risk assessment, the first thing to do is go and meet the engineer. Tell the engineer, what is the method statement? What is this? What is that? What is this? The thing is this, be clear, make sure you get clarity about the question you want to ask. So in that situation whereby you couldn't get the question, there is nothing but saying, sir, please, can you make more clarity? Sir, do you mean this? Sir, are you trying to ask this? Even in the period when you're trying to get more clarification, don't be surprised. Some interviewer self might have even leaked the answer to you. For instance, sir, are you trying to ask this? Sir, are you trying to ask this? Then they might have even leaked the answer to you. So clarity is not forbidden in an interview process. Do not jump to answer question without you being sure of what the interviewer is asking. So, Mr. Wali, you can go on before I move on to the next one.
All right. So,
thank you.
Talking about confidence, we should also understand that sometimes overconfidence will push you to the corner. When you are dealing with, when you need to understand who your interviewers are. There are some interviewers that you really want to lecture them, and there are some that they are gurus. And when you try to prove overconfident, it will make them to ask you technical questions. I've fallen victim of this. It will make them to ask you technical questions because they say that okay, you want to people that you know, and sometimes it might not be your fault. You just know them, you just know. But the way the language, the tone, and the way you position yourself to answer such questions will determine if you are overconfident or not. For example, if you sit down in a relaxed position, and I don't care position because you know the answers, and when they pass a particular question, it's good to smile, but there's some kind of smile that you smile like it look like, what are these people asking me? Oh me. You know, it's all about body language. This interviewer, this panelist, they know how to read body language. It's not until you speak. Sometimes the way you position yourself, your posture will determine if you feel overconfident or you just feel confident about yourself. It's good to be confident. Sometimes it can put you to the corner, like I said. It can put you to them asking you questions that you will not be able to answer, and they will ridicule you completely. And sometimes, like I said, you know the kind of people that are interviewing you. If you are going for a safety officer position, for example, and you have a safety manager, or maybe that person just fortunate to become a safety manager. There are so many companies that safety manager is just fortunate to just started safety and they just need someone that is just maybe HR or just moving to safety as safety manager. Not that he has complete knowledge of safety, and you want to come as a safety man, and you want to come in as a safety officer. Sometimes your overconfidence can be a threat to him. Your overconfidence can be a threat to him, and at the end of the day, they will not call you back because if you're feeling that if this person comes, it might take my position, and you know that based on your experience, you are qualified to become a safety manager. But because of the things on ground, the situation of the country, you just want to, okay, let me just look for a job that safety officer to just not waste my time at home. And you know, you're now going to interview and you're now feeling overconfident and you're just lashing, talking and laughing and making them feel ridiculed that you don't have safety in your and that area. There's another area too, the area of them asking us questions. Okay, please, what question do you ask for us? Some of us we ask questions that we look like they are ridiculing the company. It's good to ask questions, but when we ask questions, the question should be a sort of how to improve, honest feedback, and not just to destroy, maybe to make the company feel somehow. So at the end of the day, we should understand that confidence is good, but overconfidence is a dangerous tool. So please let us know that. And like Mr. Hakim also said, it's good to ask questions. If you are not clear, ask again. That is not overconfidence, and that is not that doesn't make you feel less of who you are. Ask again. Sometimes the question might be twisted in a way that you don't understand. Ask again. It's good to ask again. What you don't know, ask and ask again, and they will give you more clarity. So from that, Mr. Hakim, I think we can go to how to answer a scenario-based question. I think others have been covered. Then if you have more time, we'll go to some of others that we listed. So let's go to how to answer scenario-based questions. Thank you.
So before we move to how to answer scenario-based question, there are some things I also need us to also know. The higher you go, the more you forget the basic of HSE. We've seen cases whereby a lot of people in the course of the interview, they could not differentiate things. Like, that is, they could not even define hazard. They could not even know the difference between risk and hazard. They don't know what incident is. They don't know what accident is. They don't know what near miss is. They don't know what risk assessment is. Some people doesn't even know risk assessment is just a tool. Some people don't know that AMP is like a management system. So the difference between risk assessment, JHA, JSA, AMP, hierarchy of control, some of us doesn't even know it. So the thing is just that we should try as much as possible to always try as much as possible to brush up our basic knowledge, terminologies, because the more we grow, the more we start forgetting some of the basic things that we know, but we start forgetting them. So it's expected of us to always brush up. And also another thing, the factory or the sector where you are working is always expected of us to try as much as possible to always try to know the regulatory requirements for all those factories. For instance, now, someone like me that is working in the power sector, it is expected of me to know some things about NEC, to know some things about NESIS, to know some things about NEMSA. Those working in the manufacturing company, it is expected of us to know things about NESRA. It is expected to know some things from Ministry of Labor. What are their inspection? What is EAR? All those things is expected of us to know, even though we don't have concrete knowledge about it. At least some of the legislation that is operating in our place, we should be able to know them. There are some people that came that they want to do oil and gas sector interview, doing the mock interview, and they were asking them, what are the regulatory body or agency managing the safety affairs of oil and gas? They could not even mention any. Even if they had mentioned DPR, that is not more even DPR, that they've already got their name changed, they will still know that, okay, this person still have an idea. So please and please, when you are talking, try as much as possible that the sector you are, you should always ensure you know 1, 2, 3, 4 regulatory requirements that is governing or that is in charge of that your sector. So Mr. Waliu, I can see you want to add something to it. So you have the floor, sir.
No. That was earlier.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. So during that period, let me move on to the next one. And when we're talking about the next one, that is the certification requirement. Some of us, the certification requirement, wow, the certification requirement. Oh, finally, Mercy got it. So sorry about that. The certification requirements. When we're talking about the certification requirements, some of us, I could remember there was a post Mr. Wale Bakari posted on the platform requesting for an expert as an ISO 45001 lead auditor. And someone who doesn't even have as little as HSE 1, HSE 2 was even going as far as applying for lead auditor. Someone who doesn't even have ISO 45001 certificate at all, come to talk of experience. So looking at the certification requirements really speaks a lot and speaks volume in the course of an interview. So an interview you see that you're applying for, if you don't meet up with these certifications and requirements, I think it is already a green light already. But yet, there is no harm in trying, because there are some people whereby they want to apply for a role that they don't have an experience in before, but there are ways we can sell ourselves. So now this leads us to how to sell yourself for a role you don't have experience. How to sell yourself for a role you don't have experience. Now, looking at how to sell yourself for a role that you don't have experience, a very good example now. I remember there was a time, I don't know, but if Mr. Waliu can still recap, whereby he was a teacher, and he said during the period when he was teaching, he diverted into HSE, and as at that period, when he was doing his interview, all those safety-related things he did as a teacher was what he was bringing out. I trained the students on how to fight firefighting. I train the students on CPR. I ensure hazard identification in the school so as to ensure that the students and the employee and the parents of blah, blah, blah are not being harmed. A very good example is someone who is a mechanic, a mechanical engineer who wants to switch from being a mechanical engineer to HSE department. There are ways you can sell yourself, even despite you don't have experience in safety. Because I know some people on this call that they have passion for HSE or they want to switch to HSE, but they've never had an experience in HSE, but they've worked in some roles or in some capacities that has exposed them to safety. A very good example, mechanical engineer. For a mechanical engineer who is in the maintenance department, it is expected of you to ensure job hazard analysis before you start your job. It is expected of you to carry out 2 bus stop before you start your job. It is expected for you to make sure you use your personal protective equipment before you start your job. But it is expected of you that after your job, you ensure housekeeping so as to make sure that the workstation or the workplace is clean and safe for people. It is expected of you to manage your oil spill so that you won't end up affecting the aquatic environment. So looking at it, if you're a mechanical engineer who is in the maintenance team and trying to switch to health, safety, and environment, so in the course of your interview, you can use that as a selling point. My name is so and so. Over the years, I've been working as a mechanical engineer in so and so company, which currently I have a passion to become an health, safety, and environment due to so that has happened, which made me grew interest into health and safety. Over the years, while working as a mechanical engineer, I ensured that all my colleagues and team carry out 2 bus stops before the commencement of the job. I ensured that we carry out job hazard analysis before the commencement of the job. I ensured that I inspect all the tools we want to use to ensure that the tools are well calibrated and they are in safe condition for us to work. I ensure proper housekeeping. So a lot of things like that, you would end up saying that at the end of everything, you're already selling yourself. Someone who is a mechanical engineer who is already ensuring this, who is ensuring that a new employee or a new colleague being brought to the maintenance to join the maintenance team is being duly inducted. You will see someone like that. I will see the person as someone who is teachable, and I can bring into my HSE team and train and ensure that the person is a high flyer. So I don't know if Mr. Walu still has something to say, or I should still continue, because I can see most of us are already celebrating Messi. Congratulations to all Messi supporters.
My level, I just got in here. No, it's not 3-3 now. They've equalized 3-3. What's wrong with you? Today,
sorry, I'm not even watching the ball. I thought it was 3-2. I saw.
You just scored. No. Please continue. You are good to go. Please continue.
So, I know, let's continue. So as I was saying, how to answer scenario-based question. So when we talk about how to answer scenario-based question, sometimes when they build a scenario for you, that so scenario, creating a scenario is just to make you have an imagination of a work scene or an imagination of a place. Mostly, if you cannot figure out that scenario, try to rebuild your own scenario to suit what that person wants to do. I can remember there was a job interview I attended. My guy who interviewed me is also on this call. When he was asking me a question on a scenario base, I could not really figure out what the design of that scenario is. But I rebuilt my own scenario to suit what I think he wants to do. He's expecting of me to say. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So when we're asking scenario question, number one, if you cannot get the clarity of that scenario, you can rebuild your own scenario. For instance, now, let's assume we have a scenario of a place in so workplace, and in the course of trying to carry out a job, the MD, there was a fire incident, and the MD was going into the office to have a meeting with the board of directors via Zoom. And everybody has evacuated the workstation and moved to the muster point. You, as a safety personnel, how are you going to stop the MD from going into the office when everybody has moved to the muster point? Now, looking at it, if you cannot get that scenario, you can re-strategize the scenario and build your scenario. Yeah, wow, that's true. And thank you for that question, sir. I can remember in so year, when I was working with so company, I had a similar scenario. Can you get what I'm trying to say? I have a similar scenario. So with that similar scenario that I had, I was able to manage it in so way. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So if you cannot really fit in on the scenario being built, you can recreate your own scenario to suit that scenario the recruiter is asking you, which I believe with that, you would still be able to answer the scenario-based question. So the next one again is the last one I think I'll be talking about. What question do you have for us? The way the first question they ask you, can we meet you? Can you kindly introduce yourself? The way that is very important is the same way the question, what question do you have for us, is also very important. And do you know that this what question do you have for us can be a savior for you if you have performed woefully in an interview? What question do you have for us can be a way to resell yourself. What question do you have for us can be a way to amend all those mistakes that you've done in the course of the questioning earlier. Now, a very good one, when they ask, what question do you have for us? It is expected of you to have done some research about the company where you are going to. And when we say doing a research about the company where you are going to, for you to be able to know, okay, some of the things they are doing in the company. That's why if you want to be a high flyer in an interview section, if you have an insider from that company, you can stylishly engage the person. What I do is this: before I go for any job interview, for instance, let's assume Abanom Group of Company is inviting me for an interview. I go on my LinkedIn and go and search HSE officer, Abanom Group of Company. So with that, I'll be able to trace some people that I can share a connection with, and I'll be like, my name is so and so, your company, blah, 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 trying to ask some peculiar questions that they might tell you if you know how to approach people well. Although me, I think I'm good at approaching people. So if you can approach people, they might be able to tell you some peculiar things, which you might have gone to look for the solution for. So in the cost of what question do you have for us? You can ask them those questions on how are you managing so and so that you think the company is currently going through. So by the time they see that question, they'll be like, wow, this person has really done a research. Don't be surprised. Someone on the interview section might start questioning you. These are the so and so things we've been trying to put in place to solve so and so problem. Yeah. And the next thing you might say, okay, how about if they do it like this and like this and like this and like this? I remember there was a job interview I attended. Even unfortunately, I had to reject the offer because I got another job. So during the course of the interview, I asked them some questions peculiar to the problem I think I was able to research about the company. And I was providing solution. And the next thing I was amazed was the HR manager was like, wow, since you have the solution, maybe when you come on board, you'll be able to provide the solution for us. That's a green light already. So with the look of things, when they ask what question do you have for us, the mistake most of us does is, how much is your salary? How much is your budget? When are you going to employ us? When are we going to hear back from you? Who told you that you've performed well? That you're already asking them, when am I going to hear back from you? Who told you that you've performed well? That you're already asking them, how much is my salary? What is the company culture? What is the company? What is the how toxic is the company? How toxic is the work culture of the company? Asking those kind of questions does not really make. Are you getting me? So in a nutshell, I think I've been able to address all the feedback we got in the course of the mock interview. So if you now have any question you need us to talk about, or you have any question for clarity, please kindly lift up your hand. Or if you have any contribution, please kindly lift up your hand and let us all learn from each other. Thank you so much. I remain my humble self, Mukhtar Akim Ayodeji. Thanks for listening to me. So, Mr. Waliola, you have the floor. Am I still audible?
Yes, very, very audible, very audible. So thank you.
Mr. Aderojo Tuale is lifting up his hand. Please, can you unmute yourself and talk?
Okay, Mr. Mukhtar, thank you once more for your time, the stress, whatever. So, my question goes thus: if for example, you are working in a company and you are to be interviewed for promotion, for more promotion, I want to ask, what likely question do you think one can ask after your interview? What question do you think one can ask? Are you with me?
I don't get your question. Please, can you make it clarity, please?
Okay, for example, I'm working with Mukhtar Nigeria Limited.
Yeah, I'm with you, sir.
While I'm working with Mukhtar Oil and Gas Nigeria Limited for so number of years, and I want to be promoted to a higher level. And in this role, I will be interviewed before I will be promoted. After the whole interview section, I was asked, "What do you have any question for us? What do you think I should ask?" As I'm asking a question now, what question do you think I can throw to the company, to Mukhtar Oil and Gas Nigeria Limited?
First and foremost, you're already an insider of the company.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
And number two is that you know virtually all the problem in the company. I get
Yes,
me.
sir. Yes, sir.
So, and probably the role of the person that left. If probably you don't know the reason why the person leave, I get me. And
Yes, sir.
they want to move you to the position of the person. There's nothing bad asking that, can I know the reason why this person left the position, so that I can know what to move on? Or maybe if the person was also promoted to an higher rank, I get me. I want to move to the position of the person. There is nothing bad about asking what are the challenges you faced in the course of this position where you are, so as for me to know how to get a solution and be able to start tackling the challenges immediately I assume duty if I'm successful with this interview process. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Have I answered the question, sir?
Yes, you have answered. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I also saw a question on the group chat. Please, can you elaborate more on what's suitable and ideal questions to ask the employer during interview? When we are talking about suitable and ideal question, there is no suitable question, there is no ideal question. I said something earlier. For you to be able to answer a question, mostly you will have made a research about the company. Look for a way that plus or minus, you would have been able to identify one problem or the other. Okay, I remember there was a job interview I went to do at British Construction Limited, BCL. It was a physical interview. While I was entering into the company, I observed that some of their signages are not well placed. I observed that some of their fire extinguisher has expired. So when I got there and we're trying to, when they asked me what question do I have for them, I was like, I'm sorry, ma, may I ask, how often do you do facility inspection? And the woman was like, why did I ask? How often do they do facility inspection? I said it was observed that fire extinguisher at so location has expired. This safety signage, blah, 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 blah. I started pointing out. So the woman was wowed. I was like, oh, thank you so much for pointing our attention to that. I would ensure we do the needful immediately and close it out. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that means one of the things, if they are looking for someone who has attention to details or who has skills in inspection, I think I'll be someone they might consider. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So looking at it, when we're talking about ideal questions, sometimes I always love to look for a problem that the company is currently going through and looking for a way I will have held my own answer through either my mentors, research, and hold it along with me, so that when I ask them that question and they give me their answer on how they are trying to resolve it, then I'll be able to add. Because if you keep asking them, how soon will I hear from you? How soon will I get back from you? What is the workplace toxicity like? They will be like, it's a piece of. Instead, if you don't have any question, it's better you say, I don't have any question, than asking a question that will shoot you. But the power of asking question is the power of trying to resell yourself, even though you've performed woefully in your interview. Because some of the solutions you're trying to profile might end up making them have interest in you. That, wow, this guy is a problem solver. Wow, the problem we've been looking for a way to cover up. I think this guy have the solution. Let's bring him on board. I remember there was a job interview I went for that they wanted me to do some things. I was able to talk about some things. And even though I wasn't successful with the interview process because of salary negotiation, because the amount they were offering me wasn't what I wanted, the company still called me back and started asking me, how can we do this? How can we do this? And I collected my consultancy fee. Before I can tell you this, you have to pay. They paid me consultancy fee, and I told them what I need to tell them. So which they implemented. So with the look of things, it's expected of us to try as much as possible to look for something, how will I put it? A solution to a problem. That's more of what I think should be asked. So Mr. Wali Adegoke, you have the floor. Your little boy is tired of talking.
Yeah.
Means I want to watch ball.
But I want to add to that. Some key questions, actually. You can talk about how, you can ask them about how they maintain their HSE management system. I'm very sure that you have a particular level they are. Apart from improving, how they maintain their HSE management system is a good question to ask. What are those things they put in place to maintain their HSE management system? Then another one is, you can ask, depending on where you are, the kind of company they are, you can ask, maybe see that as a company that is just striving to implement HSE. You can ask about what is their greatest challenge that they are facing. And if they ask you why, you can say maybe because you know how to prepare ahead of the various challenges that they might have. Because when you resume, those are the key areas that you want to address first. Then you can also look out for latest development in HSE. What are those things that are the latest things that are happening in health and safety? And you can ask them about their own view about it when it comes to safety. Then the other question that I can also ask is about if you have a particular skill that you have, maybe you have a skill that has to do with this assessment, or you have a skill of data analysis, or you have a skill of accident investigation. You can ask questions concerning that. Maybe how do they carry out this, how do they do this and that. So those are just the similar questions that you can ask. So over to you, Mr. Akim.
We can hear you, Mr. Wali.
Mr. Akim, over to you, sir. Or are we done because of time? I think Mr. Adirojo, please.
Thank you so much once again, Mr. Wali. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Wali.
I think
thank you so much, Mr. Wali. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please let us. I
okay,
think
good.
You've done a wonderful job today because of time.
Thank you so much for everyone who was on the call and created time. So I recognize the presence of Mr. Temitope Mudele, who earlier joined, Engineer Tukolawa. I also recognize the presence of my Oga, that's Mr. Sylvester. I recognize the presence of Mr. Madam Shuturu Wogu. I'm sorry if I murdered the name, and all our Ogas and Ogas on the call. I'm sorry that I might not be able to mention all names, but we really thank you so much. Despite we are also novice and upcoming HSE officers, and we know that we have a lot of experienced people on the call, you created time to listen to us so that we can see how we could start securing more job opportunity due to some unavoidable mistakes that we've not been taking cognizance notice about. So once again, I leave the floor to Mr. Waliula to close the floor. Why I will call on Mr. Sylvester to please kindly give us a closing remark before Mr. Waliula close the floor. Thank you so much. Mr. Sylvester, you have the floor, sir. Can anyone hear me, please? Hello, am I still audible, please?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So, Mr. Sylvester, you have the floor, sir. I think Mr. Sylvester is currently watching Argentina and France match.
Yes, sir. Engineer, thank you very much, Mr. Wali and Mr. Kim. I want to say you did a very good job. We've been enjoying you. I always try to make sure I live up because I gain a lot. And I've added so much again today. And I believe every other person who lives up and added to that knowledge, especially when seeking for a job or when applying.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Keep on doing a good job. God
Thank you so much. Amen, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Sir. So, Mr. Waliula, you have the floor to do the close-up. Yeah. Mr. Waliula. So since Mr. Waliula is not there,
I'm here.
So, and it's a go.
I'm here.
Go.
Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate everyone's presence. Thank you all for making it up to this section. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate your contribution. We are all very important. I can see so many people on the call, still on the call with us till the end. We appreciate your presence. Mr. Sylvester, you are always here with us all the time. Mr. Ugoro, Mr. Sonny Varagase, people from every part of the world, Mr. Inwan, Mr. Ibrahim, Mrs. Shituru Wogu, Mr. Shukuma Amechi, Mr. Yaya, Mr. Aziz, Mr. Onifade, Mr. Deme, Mr. Wisdom, everyone, Mrs. Vivian, Joel, Andy, thank you all for making it up to this section. We hope to see you, and surprisingly, this will be our last, most likely will be our last section for the year, because next year is Christmas and the upper year is the New Year. So we will be having us next year. See you all next year. Happy New Year in advance.
Yeah, so before we see us all next year, we have a program that is coming up January 21, 2023. The program, which we have a lot of speakers that will be coming on board, the likes of Mr. Dakpo Molade, Mr. Jamiu Badmos, Madam Fatima Bello, Mr. Julius Akmong. And the program is just going to cost us 3,000 naira for us to attend. The program, which promises to be more enlightening, as we are trying to look for how we could also integrate safety, integrate psychological safety. And guess what? There's a certificate for the program if you also attend. Aside all those certifications, most of the topics we'll be discussing about are topics that I can assure you that probably in one way or the other, you might have not been privileged to hear those topics. It's going to happen live at Lagos Commerce of Chamber Institute here in Alausa, Ikeja. So I would like everyone of us, to please. Yeah, it's both virtual and physical. So I would like us all to please support us with the little upcoming safety professionals. Support us by ensuring you attend. Also invite your colleague at work for them to also attend, because safety is not only a one-man business. It is everybody's business. We are because you are, and you are because we are. Ubuntu, humanity. So please kindly find time to ensure you attend and help us spread the gospel of this training coming up January 21, 2023. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful year in advance.
Mr. Hakim, in addition to that, it's going to be a grand seminar that involves both presentations, enlightenment sections, trainings, technical sections. We are having a full training on psychological safety, which is very expensive, but we are having it as part of our part of the event for the day. And also, if you have an organization that we want your colleagues, your employees, maybe you are the manager, or that you can talk to the manager to also invite to also register their employees. There's also space for corporate registration, registration to also be present for this great event. We hope to see you all in this great event. We know that it's going to add value to us. The title is Setting the Pace 2023. If you want to know more about this, want to register, my number is there already to contact us so that we can register you for this event. People are already registering, and please don't be left out. It's going to be a great event. So we are going to drop the number once again. It's 07045497332. Thank you so much. Thank you all for waiting till this moment. We appreciate you from every part of the world. You can join virtually from anywhere you are. You can join virtually and physically. Thank you and God bless you. See you all again, hopefully next year by God's grace. Happy New Year in advance. Bye-bye.
Bye. And congratulations to Mercy supporters.
Seriously, I'm pained.
I'm a Chelsea fan.
Mr. Julius Van Bento, you can register from Uganda and join virtually also. Thank you so much. Come on. You pay me.